What's up? This is Patty, me. I'm Patty from Patty in Astrology, and this is another astrology and manifestation update to manifest with the Scorpio new moon. The new moon is exact actually on November 13th. That's Monday morning at 4:27 a.m. Eastern. You can adjust that for your time zone. And with the way, every new moon is different. So with the way this one is going down, you may have already been feeling it. This one can be quite surprising, shocking, disruptive, whether it's what you want to do, whether that's what's going on around you, prompting and urging you into new directions, fresh starts, those new moon vibes of new beginnings. So this one is a really interesting one to manifest with. And in this video, we're going to get into why, what to look out for, and how. So to go along with this video, each one of these video updates comes with a free PDF workbook. Includes keywords, key themes, a breakdown by rising sign of what to look out for, what to focus on, space for journal prompts, altar correspondences, space for notes from the video, because I'm going to be sprinkling in and really getting into some manifestation tips with the journal prompts. And it's all tailored to this particular new moon. And there are links for additional resources that you can use to support you on your journey in the workbook as well. So if you want to grab your copy, which I highly recommend, the link is in the video description, or you can go to my site, pattyunastrology.com, and it is free. An awesome resource. And then another resource that I do offer, or I am offering now, is a calendar. So this one is for Scorpio season. So if you want to follow along, you can get this sort of like bird's eye view of the month ahead, and you can follow along with all of the cosmic clues and opportunities to align with the energy of the universe. So you'll see here it's interactive. You can click on each one of the cosmic clues or aspects or transits, and it will like go into keywords, key themes, what to look out for. And it yeah, it's just such a cool way to start keeping track, an easy way to keep track of like, okay, how is it showing up for me? Because it obviously the universe shows up for each of us in very different ways, and that really depends on what you want and what you're manifesting right now. It is interactive, clickable, every single one. However, it doesn't really work on mobile devices, but you can download it and use it on your laptop or desktop. It's just a really awesome, easy way to keep track of what's going on. So the link to download is also in the video description, or you can go to my site, pattyunastrology.com, to grab your copy as well. So let's get into the rest of it with the new moon. So, like I said, it's on November 13th, 4:27 a.m. Eastern. So, in this video, we're going to get into what is a new moon? Why is it important for manifestation? I mean, this is like a really wonderful manifestation point in astrology. How do you work with Scorpio in your birth chart? Definitely download the workbook. And if you're like, I don't have Scorpio in my birth chart, you do. Everybody has Scorpio. And that's where it's so cool, because when you know where it is, you know where the energy is showing up for you. So this is where it's like, instead of focusing on something that you just keep trying to make happen, and it's like the universe is showing, like maybe you're trying to make a relationship happen, but for this new moon, the universe is really showing up in your health, right? Or in your work. Then instead of pouring all your energy into something without the support of the universe, you can actually align with it, and it's actually leading. It's all magically leading you to what you want, but it's just a different path than we're used to taking, or a different path than the one that we're taught to take in order to get what we want. So that's in the workbook. Of course, the journal prompts to unpack your clues from the universe and how to manifest with a new moon. Intention setting, that's what new moons are all about. So we're going to get into that. And altar correspondences, what particularly about this new moon is going on with Scorpio, all the Uranus stuff, etc., what to keep in mind, and tips and practices. So, if you've been watching these videos, I find it very, very helpful. And I actually think it's really important to do a brain dump or reflection. And there's a few reasons for this, but it's just, it helps clear our mind. If you're like following the artist way at all. It's like the morning pages are so helpful, and it can be really validating or really cool to see, like, oh, what's on my mind or what's coming up around me is actually where I have Scorpio on my chart. So I loved this quote by Neil Donald Walsh, which I thought was really appropriate for this new moon because there's so much Uranus involved. And it can feel really like, what is going on? Shocking, disruptive changes, just sudden, like, I'm leaving this, right? Or any of that. And the whole point with Uranus and with any of this is this quote: our job, our intention as spiritual beings in a body is to express our true nature, to fully know ourselves as expressions and individuations of the divine. And Uranus and this new moon speak so much to authenticity, like true authenticity. And that is really how we manifest with the universe. So take a moment to do this space in the workbook for that, but take a moment to just, like, if you're feeling like, oh my God, what's going on? This is a great time to just like brain dump it all out. So let's get into what is a new moon. Why is it important for manifestation? And there's more on this in the workbook, but the new moon is when the sun and moon come together, and it happens every month in a different sign. So you'll notice next month it'll be a new moon in Sagittarius. And when the sun and moon come together in the sky, we are looking at, that hermetic saying, as above, so below. It's always connected to your birth chart, your sun and moon. And that's why we all experience these energies so differently, because we tune into it so differently. It's such a personal thing for us. So the sun and moon are like the goals, the identity, the intuition, and the inner knowing all come together. This sort of yang and yin energy within us come together, and that is what seeds a new moon beginning for you. You're not just out there being like, yo, I gotta succeed. You are out there being like, I know what I want externally, but I also know what I know internally, and I'm combining the two, which is very, very powerful, in order to take my next step forward, even if it makes no logical sense. And so that is what new moons are. And with how much of that seeding energy and intuitive energy is here, that's why it's so important for manifestation. We can't manifest with the universe based on, like, well, this is the next logical step and this is what I'm supposed to do next, because that just doesn't work. But when we really tune into our intuition and also our drive, our goals, and really combine the two together, then the universe will meet you more than halfway. So, like I said, every new moon takes place in a different area of your life. By knowing what sign it's in and where that sign is in your chart, you know where to focus the energy so you can harness the energy of the universe. You're not just like trying to make something happen that's like not meant to happen right now, or not meant to be focused on right now. And I promise you, even if it's like, what does this have to do with what I ultimately want? This is where we have to trust this dance, let go of control a little bit, and also just trust what we want to do. Um, yeah, that's all I'll say about that. But paying attention to that really helps you not do it alone, not feel like you have to make everything happen yourself, because that it just doesn't work. So yeah, then enlist the help, like ride that wave. So this, whatever we are seeding now, unfolds over the next 2 weeks or even the next 6 months. So you can have mini intentions, you can have bigger intentions that will grow until the Scorpio full moon in the spring. So, right now, what to pay attention to is you are receiving internal and external clues about new endeavors, and resets and rebirths are seeding now. So, what do you wish to grow? Every month it happens, but depending on your chart, it happens somewhere specific. So, that's why we really want to take advantage of. You can manifest all the time, but when we align with the cosmos and the planets, then we really give it that. I mean, that's everything, right? So it's really streamlining the process, and especially when you throw your chart into it. So the aspects and energy of the Scorpio new moon. Now we know it's like about new beginnings, seeding new beginnings, intuition and inner knowing, meeting our goals. Then what are some of the things that color this particular new moon? Well, we just ended eclipse season, and I don't know how it went for you, but it was the last 6 weeks. And I know some people it was like freaking banana bonkers, right? And for some of us, it was just like, I don't know, I didn't really, whatever. Um, no matter how you tuned into it, if it was your turn or not for the crazy to go down, or the big changes to happen, we are at a time of closing major chapters. And really, chapters that have been closing or changing for the last 2 years, maybe you felt it most in the last 6 months or even the last 6 weeks. And so there's this real like, okay, that's got to be in the past, whatever version of that was. And that doesn't, it can come back, but it will come back in a different way. And so we are acknowledging the massive changes that have gone on in the last 2 years. And I'm going to get into this in the journal prompt so you can really personalize this. But that's why this new moon, this new beginning is really powerful, because we are um breaking a cycle, and we are starting a new one, but a bigger one than just the last 2 weeks or the last 6 months even. We are looking at that from this bigger window of 2 years. And there's so much Uranus involved. So acknowledge the things that are ending, right? And being like, I don't, that's a part of my past, it's not a part of where I'm going. And then Uranus is like, dude, be authentic as hell, right? So do things that free yourself, embrace the shocks and the disruptions as tickets to freedom. Or if you're the one that wants to do like be serving up the surprises or shocking others, like embrace that energy as well, as long as it's coming from a place of this feels like freedom to me. And then Mars is such a big part of this as well. So in addition to the like, that's a part of my past, I'm going full on authentic, like even if it's like crazy to some of the people in my life. Mars is also like, take action, uh use your passion to drive the new beginnings. And if there's anger, because Mars is about anger too, where we may have not expressed anger from the past, or we use anger as positive fuel, not to like hurt others or lash out at them, but to be like, I need to get moving in this direction because I'm so mad right now, so or I'm just feeling so passionate about this. I need to move in this direction. So there's this real like breaking away quality, whatever it is that's coming up for you, whatever it is you're really wanting to do right now, whatever it is that's going around on around you. um, this real breaking away from some aspect of your past, but also you're not just breaking away from it, you're really moving toward what you want at the same time. So, there's more keywords on all of these because I love to work with keywords, and it's so helpful for me to like highlight them and make my own wacky sentences to keep like in the back of my head as affirmation. So I recommend looking in the workbook. But again, the new moon themes are new directions, new beginnings, um, change, on whatever scale you want that to be, authenticity, breaking old rules. And if things like all of a sudden fall apart or like go sideways or like plans totally change at the last minute, you want to reframe that right now with all of this Uranus is like, this disruption is offering me a chance to do it the way I want to do it, or to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so disruption is giving clues to your freedom. It's not there to inconvenience you necessarily. It's not there to, hit the oh shit button. It's there to be like, there's a better way, there's an easier way, there's a more authentic way for me to do this right now. And here's my opening to do that. And then, of course, acting upon inner desires with all of the Mars and Scorpio involved as well, maybe even hidden desires. So we are really tuning in that bit into that, but of course, this is in Scorpio, and wherever you have Scorpio in your chart is where you're already kind of tuned in. You're already kind of a Scorpio in that part of your life, so it may surprise you to see where you have Scorpio. But you want to tune with new moon intentions right now, and your manifestation flow. You really want to tune into your definition of these Scorpio keywords, like passion, your hidden desires, right? These might be the things that you're like, I can't share this with anybody, like, and that's okay. Because if it's like authentic and true to you, then this is a time to really, you don't have to share it, but it's a time to really put energy towards it, in what you feel intense about, what you want to like dive into, get really deep into, and strong emotional connection. What do you feel very emotionally connected to? Like, I just really want to dig into this. I really want to do this. And then there's even this sense of like death, rebirth, or resurrection. Um, However that, maybe it's something from the past coming up and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this, or feeling like you're resurrecting a part of yourself at this point, especially if we're looking at the last 2 years. So how are these themes coming up for you, or how do you want to tune into them? And then what are we going to look out for now that we've talked about all these different things that are coming up? Where does your energy want to go? What are the new projects that are coming up around you that you feel really passionate about? What are the desires that are really present right now in you? What is it you want to do that's like, oh, I just really want to do it this way? I just really want to do this. Or even it could be like, this is the way I want to do it, and that would feel really aligned for you. Notice those things that are coming up, like the sudden urge to take a kind of class or research something. And I find it really helpful to also notice, like, what are the new beginnings happening around me? I find that that can be really validating, supporting, or give a lot of other clues as well. And then this is the death card in the tarot, which is all about change. And I've already mentioned that word a few times for this new moon. I mean, change and authenticity are big for this new moon, but also can be like almost like taboo, like your version of what would normally, or what was formerly taboo, right? Or like you don't discuss it, or you don't do that. And now this new moon's like, who says who? Do it. So with the desires, the urges, the things around you that come up that you feel interested in, or you feel driven to explore, passionate about, look into it, experiment with it, allow yourself to change in the process. This is where like moving past fears can be a really powerful thing with this new moon, because this new moon is all about change. And when we move past our fears, we do that transformation. Keep following where your energy wants to go, even if it makes no logical sense. Trust your intuition over logic and follow what feels like freedom. That's that Uranus energy that's coming up. Even if it's like shocking and disruptive, follow what feels like freedom for you. Um, and then the style of taking action. If there's something you want to start with right away, which we're going to get into with the prompts, it's like the revealer, like I'm telling the truth. I'm revealing the secrets, like I'm unraveling all of this like weird stuff that's hiding the truth around this. The detective, I want to know more. I will go plunge into the depths of this thing just to discover more. The sorcerer, magician, and shaman, like really transforming something. And I think this can be kind of confusing with Scorpio, but it's like losing yourself to something, allowing it to change you. That's like different ways that we can tune into that transmutation energy that all three of these magical, mystical archetypes offer. Conjuring, changing, all of that. So these are all going to apply into the new moon prompts. But next step is, where is the Scorpio new moon in your chart? And so you have this chart. Well, no matter what your rising sign is, this chart has Aries rising. But right now, the sun and the moon are in the sign of Scorpio, meaning they are in one of these 12 pie slices of your chart, or a section of your life. And you'll see here, I've included a couple of keywords. You can pause the video here if you want to look at your rising sign, but this is where I really recommend going into the free workbook, because I offer a lot more keywords and a link to longer house descriptions on my website that you can look at to be like, okay, how am I tuning into this right now? Because you can see there's 3 planets in this one part of your chart. It's like there's a lot of energy there, and That's where a lot of change has been going on for the last 2 years. So we really want to build on that and be like, I'm using what I'm letting go as a way to dive even further into what I want to do. So yeah, if you there's resources if you don't have a copy of your chart, linked in the workbook, and then once you have that, you can look at your rising sign and see like, where is this showing up for me? So now let's get into the prompts and how to apply all of this: change, new beginnings, authenticity, allowing yourself to change, being a revealer, going into hidden desires, taboos, like disruption is a ticket to freedom, shocking changes, right? Being like, screw this, I'm leaving, right? Um, how do we unpack all of that into something that we can do and manifest, like use to manifest with the new moon? So, number one is get your rising sign and look at where the new moon is taking place in your chart. And we're going to do a little bit of reflection because we have just come out of the nodal axis, south node in your Scorpio area of life, meaning wherever the Scorpio new moon is taking place is where you've undergone a lot of change. And it may have been very subtle and invisible and emotional, or may have been very like in your real, like lived experience of like perhaps job changes, family changes, relationship changes, any of those things. So we want to take a few moments to reflect on how this part of your life has changed. Like I said, in the last 2 years, what do you notice has shifted in subtle or dramatic ways? And what did you actively change and what was changed for you? So if you can remember, you can do like your own cosmic highlight reel, like, oh my gosh, this happened and this person came into my life, and then oh my, I broke my leg and whatever. I mean, I didn't break my leg, but you just want to jot that down and be like, whoa, because I find this so helpful to be like, whoa, a lot of stuff did happen. And this new moon is like, this all happened. What do you want to do? So you can check the workbook for your house keywords. And then after that, after reflecting on that, you really want to acknowledge how far you've come. And this is going to help very much with the rest of the journal prompts and how we can actually manifest the next thing we can do. Congratulate yourself for how much you discovered about yourself, how resilient you were, how much of your own power you discovered, no matter what happened. Maybe you're like, nothing happened, or I didn't go as far as I wanted to in the last 2 years, or it didn't pan out. Doesn't matter. Because there's a lot of growth in that as well. So acknowledge it. And if it was hard, that's also something to really acknowledge for yourself as well, because we are coming out of a very intense 2 year cycle in this part of your life. So, based on your acknowledging and congratulating yourself, what would be a powerful affirmation or commitment to yourself after looking back at how much you've grown and what has changed? Something that supports you, something that feels like, dude, I did it. Like I made it through that. Like it can I find that to be really helpful to keep in the back of your head when, we can all go into shame spirals and whatever, and that's normal. So this can be really helpful. Astrology is so helpful with that in our own lives, to look at containers of time as um yeah, a container where a lot can happen in there, and we're meant to look at it as one group of things. And that can be very, very significant and very helpful and supportive. So next, and all these prompts are in the workbook, so you have space to write everything down in them. You want to think about this part of your life. What do you want here? And a lot of these questions I repeat every new moon. There are some that I change based on the energy of the new moon, but we always want to look at wherever the new moon or the full moon is showing up and being like, what do I want in this part of my life? Because that is going to help us with anything we do moving forward. And you want to go best case scenario here, like not realistic, not logical, because that's not how we manifest. You want to go into your most ideal experience. And if it feels far away, that's normal too, right? We got to start somewhere. So we need clarity on, what do I want in this part of my life? No one's going to read it. It's just a contract between you and the universe, right? So go crazy. And then once you write that down, something fun to think about is how this part of your life fits in with your big picture vision of what you want to manifest in your life. Envisioning your like ballerist, awesomest, best life filled with love and abundance and everything you want. How would your Scorpio area of life fit into that vision? And this part of the chart, like you may have one part of your chart where like you really want more opulent or luxurious things. And not that Scorpio wouldn't be like that, but this might be where you're like, dude, I want privacy. I want people to leave me alone. It can show up very differently, or I want it to be very intense in this part of my chart. I don't want any small talk. I don't want any fluff. That's how this part of your chart can show up. So it doesn't have to make logical sense. Just go with what feels good and right for you. And all of these are questions just to get clarity on what it is you want. Because now we want to write down, where do I notice my energy wanting to go? It's like, oh, dang, I really want to sign up for Bikram yoga. Or, oh, damn, I really want to change my career. I want to get a second cat, or whatever it is. Like, what is that thing that's coming up for you right now? And if it's not clear, it's okay. Just like jot down whatever. Um, and just whatever it is that you write down, think about what feels really authentic and intuitive. And again, I can't tell you how many times I have to like ask people to like stop with the, well, this is what I should do next. And it's like, take should out of your vocabulary. What do you want to do next? And in this part, you just want to list anything and everything that comes to mind, because there's going to be another part where we get into intentions. But we just want to, again, a brain dump, letting our free flow, our thoughts really come out. And if you're like, dude, I don't want to do shit except for rest and like lay like a couch potato and do nothing, that's also, and it's like, that's what feels authentic right now, then write that down. Like, that's totally something that's actually a very necessary part of the manifestation process as well. The letting go, not forcing, and just listening to your energy. So in the next one, and this one can take a minute to like really try on your brain, right? I mean, it definitely took me a while before I felt like I could even think like this, because a lot of those inner voices would come up. They would be like, that's not realistic, any of those things. So ask yourself, if I believed that I could have anything I wanted, that abundance was my birthright, anything I want to do or start is a no-brainer, and that I was worthy of what I desire, what would I choose to begin, and how would I begin it? Meaning, you can do whatever you want, and the things that you want to do in the way that you want to do them are no-brainers. They're going to work, right? This is the mindset we want to look at all of it from. What would be the most freeing, natural, and intuitive way to do it? What would feel aligned with my passions and ability to change? So let's say you want to take pole dancing classes, and maybe some of us wouldn't even start because it'd be like, well, I'm too old, or how am I going to do that? I'm not fit enough, and like I'm just going to embarrass myself and look like an idiot. And but the desire is there, right? I want to take this class. And how would I choose to do it? Well, I would just start by committing to this one. I actually really like this one studio, even though it's 10 minutes like further away. And I'd do the classes on Tuesday mornings if I can. Like, you just want to think about like what would be the most intuitive way that I would want to do it. Um, and write that down, no matter what it is that you want to do, because when you give yourself the room to be like, this is exactly how I want to do it, you're giving yourself major magical instructions. And you're also giving yourself the instructions that will show you what your beliefs are. Like, that's not realistic. Who can do that? Like, I'm too old, blah, 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 blah. It's too late for me. Those are all beliefs that we're going to work with in the next couple of prompts. So I know there's a lot of questions here, but after writing out what it is you want in your Scorpio area of life, and what you want to begin and how you want to do it, those inner voices that I just mentioned. So these are like the old rules, beliefs, limiting beliefs, right? And so much of this new moon is about breaking the rules, breaking away from the status quo. And you want to notice as you wrote down, like, oh, dude, this would be baller. This would be awesome. Like, I would totally want to do it like this. And then the voice being like, what? You don't have money? How you gonna do that? Or when do you have the time to do that? Or who do you think you are? Write them down. And it might be like, I don't want to write that down, but this is such an important part of rewiring our brain and also proving to ourselves. And that is like a really tangible way to manifest. Write them down and circle the ones that feel the most present, triggering, or resistant to you. So, again, some examples: I'm not allowed to spend money on that. It's selfish to do that. Good girls or boys don't do that, right? These things we're told when we're young. Who do I think I am? Only special, rich, lucky people get to do that, and that's not me. There's a reason why we're doing it. So if you're like, dude, this feels like crap, you want to feel that as well. So now in the next section, you want to take the old rules that you wrote down and you want to flip them to the opposite, which is actually the truth. It is actually the truth because there's no one truth, right? And you want to create a new rule that supports you and what you wish to begin, one that encourages your freedom and authenticity, which are such big themes for this new moon, and one that acknowledges that you can have anything you want. So if it was like, I'm not allowed to spend money on that, then the new rule would be, I'm allowed to spend money on things that actually feel really, really good for me, no matter what, right? Um, Only special rich people are allowed to do that, and that's not me. We don't want to lie to ourselves and be like, well, I'm special and I'm rich, so I'm going to do it, right? That wouldn't be the opposite, but it would be like, um I'm allowed to do anything that feels really good for me, or at least try it, right? I'm allowed to at least try it once. Like, you just want to think about, how can I turn this around for myself? And if you're familiar with Byron Katie, like, she also has the work and the turnaround, which is a similar process of just being like, let me just flip it around till I find one that feels like, oh, that feels good. Like, that feels like really truthful to me, even if it's not always good, right? But you just want to take that sentence and flip it around so you find one that really feels like, I can work with this, and that supports you and what you want, because you want to think about this new rule and be like, what are some ways that I can live or act based on that new rule from the last question? I'm allowed to spend money on anything that feels like I truly want it, I truly desire it, and it would feel really good for me. Then I would start upgrading the facial, right? Even if I wouldn't allow myself to before, I would take a cab home from this place after this time. um, I would allow myself to uh, treat myself to this particular brand or this particular experience, even if it's expensive, but just because, right? So you want to think about that, like, in those ways, like, what would support you living into this new rule, and very concrete, tangible actions that feel just outside of your comfort zone. I'm trying to think of other examples. Even the I'm too old to do that, or, which in astrology, your chart goes on forever. You're never too old for a fresh start. You're never too old for like turning your life on its head, because your chart is always in motion, or there's always things activating your chart. So it would be like, well, the like, I never stop growing. I never There's always more chances for me, because there are. And so then, what would be like living into that for you, and what would be some small, easy, but kind of scary ways for you to do that? And you want to list all those ideas. What's something you could do today, actually, that would be like, I'm going to prove it to myself that this is also my truth? Now, this is the fun part. You want to take a few deep breaths and close your eyes and envision yourself already doing what you wrote in the last question. Like, how am I going to live into this new rule? And if something was like, oh my God, I can't do that, envision yourself doing it. And then ask yourself, when you've like gotten into it and you're like, I'm doing it, I see myself doing it, what did I have to let go of in order to do this? And the answer might surprise you. So then, now that you've gone through all of these questions, what new moon intentions would you like to set at this time? What do you want to create? Um, you're like looking at this new rule that supports you. You're looking at this affirmation or commitment to yourself after reviewing the last 2 years. You've looked at like everything you actually really want in your Scorpio area of life. And you're also paying attention to like, well, where does my energy want to go? Even if it's unrelated to my Scorpio house themes. And you've just gathered so much really like powerful information for yourself and powerful intuitive guidance for yourself. And just pay attention. What new moon intentions do you want to set at this time? What do you want to unfold in the next 2 weeks? What do you want to unfold in the next 6 weeks? And you've already got the limiting beliefs, you've already got the new rules, and you've already given yourself ideas on how to live into that new truth for you. And the thing with manifestation that I think I didn't understand for a long time, and I know a lot of people don't quite get it, is that we have to do something, right? And not all the time, but with new moons, this is a powerful time, especially with this new moon, to take some kind of action, to learn in the process, and to allow yourself to change through doing something new, doing something scary. And we don't want to just do whatever, right? Like, I'm rebelling, screw this. That's why I gave you that exercise of like, what's the new rule and how can you live into that? Like, what would feel good for you to do that? Because you are now already giving yourself actions. You've already given yourself the clues for all of this. So, where do you want your energy to go? What new moon intentions do you want to set after reviewing all of that? And if you're like, yo, that was a lot, I don't even know how to organize that, come back to these prompts in a week and just see how you've changed or see how your perspective has shifted on all of this. But try the scary things, try the things that live you or you, that help you live into that new truth. There's so much about neuroscience and all of that with manifestation as well, but this is a really simple way to get into rewiring your brain, but also to aligning with the universe and the planets at this time, and especially when you align it with your Scorpio house in your chart. So don't worry, you don't have to know how anything is going to happen. You've just given yourself a lot of intuitive guidance and and your clues from the universe. So write down your intentions and check in with them often, and notice what you feel inspired to do as you go along. But what you feel inspired to do requires us to do something, right? And that's where you really want to give yourself that how can I live into this truth that supports what I want here. Yeah, just keep going through the prompts. If you're like, I don't know what to do next, just do it and see what unlocks every time you do it. So, new moon tips and practices, create an altar. In the workbook, I've given altar guidance, all of that. So the correspondences for Scorpio, fire, earth, air, water, create a visual reminder. Very helpful for working with your subconscious mind. And do something right away that proves to you that your new rule is true, and keep doing it. It might sound like this is like weird, boring old self help stuff, but this is like real manifestation and the changes that we go through in the process and how we actually open ourselves up to the flow of the universe at the same time in more expanded ways. So do something right away that proves to you that your new rule is true, and keep doing it. Follow your sense of freedom and do the things that are like a little bit of a stretch. It's so important to do that. And if there's something that is like that changed suddenly or that you're afraid to change, just remember that accepting that you're afraid, accepting that the change has happened, accepting that you don't know what to do next is the first step to true change. Accepting you're not where you want to be. That's also huge in manifestation. So if you're like, I don't know what to do next, or I don't know how to do this, or I don't even know if I can, I'm frustrated and I can't see and I can't see a way out of how stuck I feel. Just accept that you feel stuck, right? Um, and that was just something I thought would be really interesting, especially after the 2 year cycle that we just completed. So, if you're like, I'm really clueless, I'm not sure, give offerings to the universe. Take some of the herbs, flowers, plants, etc. in the altar correspondences for Scorpio, offer them up to the universe. Take them out into nature. Ask for guidance, ask for dreams, intuitive hits, right? Any of that stuff, signs, pings. That can also help. It can really support you in continuing to prove yourself that your new rule is true. And then build momentum and keep creating rules that work for you. So, those are all the tips, practices. This is a very organic process, but this is a very powerful time to work with them. So the links, for everything, like I said, are in the video description. Grab the free Scorpio season calendar, the interactive one that I showed at the beginning, and transform and take leaps with Scorpio and eclipse season. This is the podcast interview that I did with Soulful Expression, Marjorie over there. That's also linked in the show notes if you want like an overview of Scorpio season plus more on the Scorpio new moon. And then, of course, you can book an astrology reading if you want to get really into personalizing what's going on. I have 60-minute and 30-minute readings. And then cosmic alignment, I'm still, updating it. And you can see, like, I'm really incorporating more of the manifestation stuff into these free video updates. So there's a lot of different shifts that are happening in there. And I recommend just joining my newsletter for updates because there are a lot of cool things in the works right now. So that is everything. That's Scorpio new moon. I hope you find that really practical exercise helpful. And it might feel like, why am I doing this? You're doing it to manifest, and you're doing it also to open up even more to your flow with the universe. When we shift our internal reality, external reality changes as well. And this is how we shift our own internal reality, and we really start to see where the universe is showing up for us. So that's it. And I will see you next time. Happy manifesting. And I hope you have a good Scorpio new moon. Talk to you next time. Bye.